Welcome, everyone who's coming in. Nice to see your faces. If you are able to turn your camera on where you are, we'd love to see you. If you can't, that's perfectly fine. I want to thank you for joining us tonight. My name is Andy Engel, and I'm Director of Public Programs here at Reimagine. Reimagine, if you don't know, is a nonprofit organization supporting individuals um, and communities to transform pain and grief into growth and meaning. We host hundreds of free online events throughout the year. First, let us get to know each other a bit in the chat. I want you all to take a moment with me. I want you all to be present. Um, are your feet planted on the ground? Mine are now planted on the ground. And where are you? Are you lying on a sofa? Are you lying in bed? Um, Take note of how your body feels in space. What do you smell? Um, are you tasting something in your mouth? Maybe you're sipping a cup of tea. Is it sweet? Uh, Maybe you need an Altoid. It doesn't matter. It's all good. Um, what are you hearing right now? Right now, I'm hearing in New York City, where I am, the rush of traffic, some planes overhead. Here's some wind. Let us know in the chat. Oh, there you go. Vicky, thank you. I'm lying on the sofa, feeling very warm out this evening. It has been an emotional day. Indeed. Thank you for that, Vicky. Um, so I just want you to be aware of your surroundings, all your senses. Um, and if you want to, please share that in the chat. We'd love to see. At most Reimagine events, we want to let you know at the beginning what kind of space this is and what kind of space this isn't. So first, this is a collective space to grieve. Here we cultivate compassion for others and for ourselves. Most of us have arrived here with some kind of pain in our hearts. And our hope is that the space we're creating tonight with all of you is full of empathy, warmth, and understanding. This is a space for bravery. It takes courage to show up for others, especially folks we don't know. And it takes courage to lament and to mourn in public. With all that's going on in the US and the world right now, we need more welcoming and inclusive spaces where it's completely normal to share our emotional and spiritual states of mind. Finally, this space is not perfect. We might fumble, we might falter, we might offend, but we just ask for your grace. And I love that that word grace is in this script. Now, a few words about what this space isn't. It's not about blaming. It's not about imposing belief systems on others. It's not about fixing things or providing solutions. Another thing I want to emphasize is that although this is not a political space, it is a space to cultivate social justice, a principle and a moral value that so many of us are clinging to right now. So I'm here to open and close the program. In a moment, I'll be handing this over to Brad Wolf, who is the co-founder and executive director of Reimagine and the musician behind the band Brad Wolf and the Moon. For those new to Reimagine, we create spaces where people can face life's hardest experiences with more honesty, creativity, and connection. And over the years, um, what has happened through our live gatherings and our conversations and our rituals is that the transformation doesn't usually happen at that single moment at these one-off events. Um, an event can move us, but what happens next? That's where Reimagine's new platform comes in. Many of you have already registered for this. During this gathering, we'll invite you to use this platform not just as a passive virtual space, but as an active communal environment. You'll be reflecting, you'll be writing, you'll be sharing, and ultimately continuing that journey to growth, transformation, and learning. And remember when I said before that this space is not perfect? Neither is this platform. It's in beta. We're still learning as we're going along. So we ask for your grace. Again, tonight's program is part of Loss, a pathway of turning pain into purpose through music. It's an event series and a digital journey grounded in the science of post-traumatic growth and the power of music. The song you'll hear tonight, Cover You in Flowers, is part of Brad's deeply personal project, the Lost Life and Love Mixtapes. This song, Cover You in Flowers, is inspired by Grace Livingston, a beloved part of the Reimagine community whose life and love continue to shape this work. Brad will guide us through the song, the story, and the questions behind it, and we'll premiere the music video. So over the next 75 minutes or so, we invite you to watch, listen, write, reflect, and share in whatever way feels right. So with that, I'll hand this over to Brad.
Thank you so much, Andy, and thank you to everyone for being here. I want to first just welcome some of the Reimagine team members into the space who are going to be by our side this evening. My colleague Nicole Tan, who is in Spain right now, or that's where she lives, and she stays up late for tonight with us. So thank you, Nicole, for being here. She's doing all kinds of amazing technical things. And then Saul will talk about the reflection space. He'll be able to answer any questions. If you have questions about the reflection space later on, he'll be your guy. And I think that's it. And then we're going to introduce our special guest in a bit. But just want to say this is a really personal experience tonight, and I'm so honored to share it with you. I've been working on Reimagine. We host hundreds of experiences, and they're all so amazing and unique in their own right. For me, this one comes from a very deep personal place, something I've been working on really for 6 years. It's been driven by love and a feeling of wanting to get a message out in the world to honor somebody who really touched my heart. And we've invoked her name a couple of times, but Grace Livingston. She was a very special person. I just want to share, to set the scene, a little bit about why and how she came into my orbit, and then we're going to expand that circle outward. But I met Grace as a volunteer for Reimagine. She was introduced to this work by our other colleague, Dara, who's a dear friend of hers, and she came to Reimagine after the death of her own mom. Her mom had gallbladder cancer and passed away, and she was raised by a single mother. And she came to Reimagine wanting to volunteer with us to think about how this world could be more open and willing to talk about end of life, to talk about mortality, that we didn't have to be so alone in that experience. And so her wish was really to open up conversations about it. But no sooner did she begin volunteering for us, and I got to know her. And I think I just want to pause one sec to share this one part of the story for me personally. Is the reason I came to this work many years ago is I played music by the bedside of the girl that I loved growing up, Sarah, who was a deep inspiration for me. And I played music for 2 years by her bedside. I didn't know how to show up for somebody in that kind of situation, but I had a guitar. And that experience taught me so much about love and care. And as Sarah passed away, I really started thinking, how might we all find our own music through the hard parts of life? What if we didn't have to be alone? That's what got me going into this, is that connection I felt with Sarah. So then we have this wonderful volunteer, Grace, who in some ways was also blonde like Sarah, and was such a bright light in the world, who was volunteering with Reimagine. And no sooner did I have the opportunity to meet her and begin hanging out with her, that she herself was diagnosed with what proved to be a terminal cancer herself. And it was really shocking for all of us, and for me, it was almost like a repeat of something I'd seen before in my own life. And we at Reimagine host these large scale, at that time, large scale citywide festivals on end of life. And we said, Grace, if you ever want to speak, if you want to share anything about your journey, your message is already so powerful, what you want to share in the world, the stage is yours anytime. And with that, Grace did have something to share. And for the next 2.5 years or so, at our main stages at Reimagine, in front of hundreds and hundreds of people, Grace would take the stage and share where she was at with her journey facing her own mortality. And it progressed. But the entire time, the wisdom and the energy and the spirit that Grace had around that experience that she was facing opened up not just my heart, but everyone in her orbit. And we're going to share more about what that message was today. But needless to say, the way that she delivered it and the spirit with which it came, was deeply transformative for me and for the entire Reimagine community that was able to witness those experiences. Then, through that whole journey, I became closer and closer with Grace. And much like my relationship with Sarah, I had the opportunity to start playing music for Grace. And in fact, I was unable to see Grace for quite some time because it was this is back during the pandemic. Ben and Grace, who you'll meet, they were now living together. And the remarkable thing about the person you're going to meet, Ben, who is Grace's husband, they married after Grace's diagnosis. And I saw the way that Ben cared for Grace and the community that he was part of. And that I really identify, honestly, with Ben as someone who's trying to care for somebody going through something like that, given my relationship with Sarah. And I don't know, I was just really touched by their relationship. And Ben and Grace invited me over one day, and I brought my guitar, and Grace was there in bed and had a chance to play music for Grace while their sweet dog, had its head on my leg for about 2 hours. And I drove home feeling so connected and grateful and all these wonderful but sad feelings mixed up. And then later that evening, Grace ended up dying. And Ben and the other members of the house that were there living with Ben and Grace covered Grace's body with exquisite flowers. And Ben shared a photo out of Grace covered in these flowers. And I've never seen an image like that personally. When Sarah died, I wasn't in the room with Sarah. But and I wasn't in the room with Grace, but Ben shared this photo of a human being covered in flowers, somebody that I care deeply for. And the image, the beauty, the impermanence, it all wove together into something so powerful. And it was such an expression of love that I felt moved to share. I don't know, something came out in me, and this became the song called Cover You in Flowers. And that's the song that I want to share with you here this evening. But I want to bring out first Ben to join me to set the scene for this. Ben, thank you so much for being here today. It's been just amazing getting to know you over these years, and grateful for your role in my life and Grace's life and all the space you've held for so many of us. And I'm wondering, first of all, hi, and just
Hi.
wondering if before we play the video, if there's something we want to bring Grace's presence maybe into the space here, and if there's anything you want to share about her to kind of tee up the video.
Yeah, of course. Yeah, it's really sweet to be here with y'all. Obviously, a very tender moment and way to relate. But this process and that woman changed my life, so I'm happy to talk about it and her at any length that people are willing to listen. Um, I think I would maybe just offer like how a little story around how the flower thing came to be. So this is sort of July of 2020, and y'all may remember it was kind of peak COVID. I don't know if people still use that term, but it felt like peak COVID to me. Um, and we kind of knew that Grace was dying, but it was kind of on me to figure out what kind of ceremony and how to do that. And do you do a funeral over Zoom? And how does that work? And it was all these they felt like messy decisions to me. Um, and I was listening to a podcast where someone referenced this kind of obscure Zen Buddhist practice that I had actually never heard of before. That I think it was actually BJ Miller who was mentioning it on the podcast. Some of you may know. And yeah, the sort of principle is, I think in the Western world, we tend to see a dead body or the body of the person that has passed and kind of like, get it out of here. I don't want to see it. And maybe there's a casket or some other moment right before you don't see them again that you kind of say goodbye or something. But this practice was meant to kind of create a more positive, like beautiful association with the body. So we went down to, we're here up in Mill Valley, and we went down to this little local Mill Valley flower shop. This really sweet older woman owns it, and kind of explained the whole situation. My wife had just died, and she was like, take all the flowers that you want for free, which was really sweet. So we got like all the fanciest flowers that we could think of. It's probably like many hundreds of dollars of flowers, and carried them back in like big buckets. And then, yeah, we just kind of took turns. The idea is to do it very slowly. So you place like one flower, sometimes even one petal if it's like a big petal at a time. And we were reading poetry and stories from our journal and memories. And it's funny because on one hand it seems so sad to like lose your favorite person in your life, and it was also this very like sweet, kind of beautiful, loving, almost like joyful kind of moment. It was somber, but it was also, there was a lot of joy and like connection in it. And it was one of these things where I didn't really know what to do. It was just kind of like following the moment. It's almost like the universe is like like making this happen, and I'm just like the vessel to like go find the things. And it was one of these things where, just kind of as Brad said, like after it was, it was kind of like done, we like used all the flowers. It was like, holy crap, that's beautiful. like it was one of the most beautiful things I've ever seen. And some of those pictures that I've taken, I used to have like up around my house, and it's really, yeah, it was like such a sweet way to transform like a very difficult moment into something beautiful. And so I really appreciated the causes and conditions that led to that happening, of which I only played a tiny part. So thanks, universe, for all the flowers and the people to bring that practice to me. And if you have the opportunity or need to ever have to do that for someone that you love, I highly suggest something in that ilk that kind of creates beauty around something that's otherwise really challenging. So hopefully that's a suitable story for the preamble here. Oh, I think you're muted, Brett. Yep.
I said beyond suitable. Anything you share, Ben, anything anyone shares in the chat this evening, everything is suitable here. But that was exquisite, and I appreciate you sharing where this comes from, and giving people a little bit more context to what became the song "Cover You in Flowers." So I'm going to pull it up right now, and we're going to take a couple minutes and just take it in together. And I deeply appreciate it. So let's see.
What if this is it? This is the last time I see your face. I'll keep my eyes open so wide that I'll dream you awake. And I wish that we could dance and never say goodbye. I wish that we could live and never have to die. If It's your last night on earth. I'll hold you for all it's worth. On the highways of my mind, you'll ride forever. I'll cover you in flowers, sing to you for hours. I made a promise to love you to your last breath. My words mattered. My words mattered. It was a promise.
Death is not some black hole of misery. It's not something to fear. It carries all the wonder and all the mystery and all of the light of birth.
What if this is it? This is the last time that I hear you speak. I'll hit record and play back the chords of your voice on repeat. And I wish that we could dance and never say goodbye. There's loss in life and love, the darkness and the light. It's your last night on earth. I'll hold you for all it's worth. On the highways of my mind, you'll ride forever. I'll cover you in flowers, sing to you for hours. I made a promise to love you to your last breath. My words mattered. My words mattered. It was a promise. It was a promise. And I can see you again. We're gonna ride like the wind. On my last night on earth, it'll feel just like birth. On the highways of the skies we'll ride together. It's your last night on earth. I'll hold you for all it's worth. On the highways of my mind, you'll ride forever. I'll cover you in flowers, I'll sing to you for hours. I made a promise to love you to your last breath. My words matter. My words matter. My words matter. It was a promise.
Well, first of all, thank you so much for taking the time. And I'm so grateful. I see Justin in the audience. Justin is the directed the video, and grateful you're here, Justin. Yeah, I mean, I've been working on this song for plus this video for 5 or 6 years, and there's a lot of components that are part of it, which we're going to talk about some of the rituals that are interwoven into that experience that you just witnessed, but which is very special to be here with you tonight and allow me to share this with you, and that you guys showed up for this. Let's see. What we wanted to do, we're going to talk to Ben more. Doorbell, what do you know? What we want to do right now is we want to invite all of us to bring somebody into the space. Because I think that was what for me so powerful about the relationship between Ben and Grace is when you think of these vows, till death do you part. And I'm going to love somebody till their last breath. That Ben and Grace really embodied that, I feel like, what enduring love can be. And I feel like that kind of love is something we should all work to cultivate, and the actions surrounding it is very, very inspiring to me. And so okay, I wonder if it's my wife who's locked out. Could that be? I have a young little baby. Maybe I should go. Ben, hold down the fort for 1 sec.
I was gonna say maybe it's Grace.
That'd be
That'd be cool. Can I come over?
yes. I'll be right there. I have a 7-month-old baby that and um oh no, I guess it was answered. I apologize, everyone. Thanks for your patience. So what we're going to do right now is we're going to try something, a journaling practice. And I'm going to, my colleague Saul is going to paste a link in the chat. And I'm going to invite all of us to click on that link. If you can find that link, it's going to pull open a prompt. And I'm going to talk about what this prompt is in 1 second here. But we're all going to think about someone that we love, someone we love deeply. And just take a time to reflect on who that person is in our lives. And how we might honor them. Let's see. So if you've clicked on this link in the chat, it should pull up another window for you where you will see this beautiful little interface. And this is a space that we're cultivating at Reimagine where people like us can come together and actually spend time with what matters together. So the prompt is this: who in your life do you want to love to the last breath? What act might you begin right now to express that love for them? And so I'm right here, I can fill out the sentence. So for me, honestly, it could be somebody alive or not alive. I'm thinking about my daughter, my newborn daughter. And I can play music for her every day. And that's something I'm excited to commit to. And then I'm going to share what's sparking this entry. For me, it's love. Honestly, I can scroll down here, and it's grace. And that's good. And then I'm gonna post this up, and we're gonna be able to see all of our responses to these, which will be saved for you in your journey, and we'll be able to look at them together, and then ultimately we'll be able to hold space for one another, to take a pause and a breath, and just be with one another in our stories, which feels really good right now, honestly. So this is a breath for myself when I'm gonna take. All right, so I'm gonna give everyone 3 minutes. If you have any questions in the chat, Saul can answer them. And if you finish early, you can click on the community tab and browse other responses to this. All right, with that in mind, I'm gonna tee up the song again, and we're gonna just, we're going to listen for about 3 minutes and come back together. So I'll let everyone take that 3 minutes right now. So thank you so much for taking that time. I'm wondering, yeah, if you go to the community tab, you're welcome to hold space for one another, to take a moment of breath and support for our fellow companions on this journey. And we're going to be able to build on that prompt and reflect. If anyone has any reflections on the prompt itself in the chat, would be interesting to see your thoughts. But I want to bring Ben back into the space, Ben. And um, when you think about the acts of love in your life and between you and Grace, can you start off talking about the act of your marriage itself and what how how that came to pass that you decided, were there any decisions around that became important? Like, how did that come to pass that after Grace's illness, you decided to wed?
Yeah, I mean, it's sort of one of these funny things in some ways because many people have asked me this question over the years, and it kind of feels kind of obvious to me. It's like when you are with the person that you know you want to spend the rest of your both or one of your lives together, it's kind of like that's what you do. Um, or that's what seems normal or the clear path to me. And so, yeah, we'd been dating for, I don't know, not that long, maybe 3 years or something. And she had actually proposed to me before she got sick. And which was unexpected because she had spent, I don't know, basically our entire relationship before that period railing on the problems of marriage and the patriarchy and traditionalism and all the things that one may complain about. And I'm sort of like, I don't care. I like whatever you want, man. Like as long as I get to spend my life with you, I'm happy. And then so when she actually proposed to me, I was sort of like, I couldn't have been more surprised because she had spent so long being like the institution of marriage is, all the flaws that she would point out. Um, and so I had no idea. And I was sort of like, what changed? Uh, what happened? And it was just like the sweetest little answer, almost like a child. She was like, well, I just decided I wanted to be married to you, you know? And I was like, okay, cool. It was a very simple yes. And then, I don't know, maybe, it was about 6 months later, she got diagnosed. And I think it became very, um, yeah, it was sort of like obvious. It was like the things that, you have this like one messy, beautiful life to live. And it's like, if this is the thing that you wanted to do as humans, like do it. And that it wasn't just marriage, it was a bunch of other stuff. It was like wanted to travel and go on to a certain type of sailing trip that she had never been on. And I wanted to buy a motorcycle, which is the thing I always talked myself out of, and then did that. And after about a year, I was like, okay, that was enough of that. Um, we got our dog that you guys saw in the video, Hollyhock, who's sitting right here with me. Um, yeah, so there are just a bunch of things that I think the sort of death knocking created, um, is like remove the resistance to do many of the things that I think we as humans just oftentimes can argue against because it's frustrating or it's expensive or it's hard or who knows what's going to happen or whatever. There's all these reasons to resist. And I think death was a very clear reminder of like just allow some of these things to flow. And yeah, having a dog when you're also taking care of your wife who's dying of stage 4 cancer is hard. And also it was like one of the best things that I ever did. Um, and she still, sleeps with me every night still. So it's one of those, yeah, I would say it's one of those sort of enabling experiences that allows all these other things to flow that have beautiful sort of like unfoldings that happen, even if there is more work or more money or more resources or more time or more whatever it may be that has to go into making that happen. I don't know if that perfectly answers your question, but I guess I would say it was clear and obvious that that was the thing to do when the person you love most in the world is dying and wants to be married.
Yeah. So, and um, the idea of ritual started coming into your life. Maybe it was
Hmm.
already there, but I'm wondering, after Grace's diagnosis, did you and Grace already have practices that you could rely on, or were you discovering um, how to what how to be with with what was happening in a totally different way than before? What were you able to carry forward? What was new?
Yeah, I would say there were some things that were there were some foundations that were there that were helpful, and a lot of it was her experience with her mom dying, and she was the primary caretaker for her mom, and at the ripe old age of like 27 or something, very very young, and her and her mom were super close. It was just the two of them, and so right when Grace got sick, like within like a week of her surgery, she was like, "All right, we're going to couples therapy. We're going, you're getting your group, caretakers thing. We're gonna go on meditation retreats. We're gonna do this thing. We're gonna do that thing, And it was sort of like a playbook, and um, yeah, it was. In some ways, it was. I never got to meet her mom, Sally. Actually, our relationship wasn't quite serious enough when she got sick, and I think it was easier for me to just kind of stay out of it. Um, and on one hand, it was like such a I don't know, tragedy is the word I want to use. Like that I didn't get to meet her mom, who was a very special human being from everything that I've heard and the daughter that she produced. And on the other hand, it was an amazing gift because it taught Grace what to do when her own illness and you know death was fast approaching. It taught me what to do. So it was an incredible. I mean, I don't know. I would almost certainly be like in a ditch right now, homeless and or dead, if it wasn't for Sally dying and the way Grace showed up to support her. It was incredibly profoundly. It made our experience much much easier. I'd say maybe it's more easeful, more smooth because she had had prior experience before it. Um, so I would say that was the primary thing that drove most of the like rituals and caretaking that we did, and it was really, um, yeah, it was really like a almost the way I would describe it was sort of this like beautiful like spiritual trade where I was, my job was to like my offering was to keep her alive and the pills and the schedules and the scans and the medical information and the insurance and the bill, like all the stuff that you have to do to care for someone and making food and all the other stuff just sort of around the house. And her like role or gift was really like opening up to death and her practice. She was sort of a I would say like a light Buddhist and went like really into the deep end of understanding. She sat her first, second, and third week-long retreats and a month-long retreat that she actually didn't make it all the way through because she was too hard on her body. But I mean, it's amazing to think of someone with stage 4 terminal cancer signing up for a month-long silent retreat. Like what? I couldn't do that. Um, and then that just paid dividends in terms of how she showed up for herself, how she helped me with things that I was struggling with, the way she was relating to friends, and her own equanimity with pain and suffering, and all the things that kind of come from the struggles of end of life illness. So um, yeah, it was really beautiful. It was just sort of this trade that we made to each other that kind of helped both of us and our community. So I feel very very appreciative that she was able to have the experience that she had with her mom and her whatever energy or karma or whatever she was harvesting, to be able to show up for her own death the way that I know I wouldn't have been able to.
And what are some of the things that she learned that she was able to pass along that stick with you, or that took place during that time that you were able to experience on account of
Man,
education?
yeah, many things. I would say like the biggest thing was turning towards things, um, which is very hard to do for certain things, but um, I think we have this natural inclination in the human mind heart, like when something is difficult, uncomfortable, painful, to kind of like try to get out of it, try to like pull away or turn away. And she kind of made a master class of pain in particular as a teacher. And as this many wise people have said, at least in the tradition, the meditation tradition that I practice, pain is in some ways the best teacher. Um, and so yeah, she really talked a lot about that and how that sort of shaped her mind and heart and body and how she would like relate to things and people. Um, I would say she had like kind of an enormous capacity for empathy, which was always a very interesting paradox to me. Someone who's like suffering so deeply could also relate so much more to like other beings that were also suffering, which I thought was a really sweet practice. We would every night before we went to bed, we would do we had this little like gratitude practice where we would like say things that we're thankful for, and she would write them in this little notebook that I still have. And also like awareness or recognition of other beings that we saw that day that were suffering, um, which in some ways sounds kind of cheesy or something, but it was actually quite a beautiful um, practice to recognize sort of both of those two things at the same time. Felt very, I don't know, in some ways I didn't even recognize it, but as I've like gotten distance from that experience, like, wow, that was incredibly wise to like relate to something. This was the thing that you just like came up with, um, I think a lot of like walking and movement practice was really helpful. So we've gone lots of walks together, even until basically the very end. I mean, even when I would have to like, we have a bunch of stairs up our house, I'd have to like carry her up the stairs. But I think even just getting outside and feeling the sun on your body, even when you're barely able to get out of bed, was such a powerful thing. Um, what else? Lots of humor. So there was like lots of like, I have this amazing video of us going to UCSF to visit her oncologist to basically tell her that we were done. This was our last time at the hospital. And I have this video of her, and she looks very pale and is kind of, very sick, so sort of at the very end of the process, and is like doing a little dance. And I have it on video, and she's just like, not saying anything, but just kind of like dancing around this little tiny hospital room. And there's something, I don't know, very profound to me about being at such a difficult turning point of like, I'm giving up on this hope, or letting go of this hope, and dancing through it. That I sort of like, I don't know how anybody can do that. I don't have the capacity to do that in my own system yet, or at least I don't know if I do. So yeah, lots of like song and dance and like lightness. Yeah, those are probably the things that kind of come to mind. But there were many others. I could sit here and talk all your ears off for many hours about all the things that she did through that process.
So I'm curious about you, Ben, and how you've been able to hold this for yourself,
Mm.
in the role that you had in caring for somebody. Obviously, it sounds like you each had a role to play, and it was symbiotic, is what I'm hearing,
Yeah.
and it was very yin and yang that was making this all work. And then there was a community there, I know. But I'm curious. Maybe you could share a little bit about how you've been able to move through
Mm.
the grief of this experience.
Yeah. Well, as those of you that have experienced grief, which is probably everybody here, still in progress, even 6 years later or whatever. I would say it's three things that come to mind that have been the most helpful for me. The first is people, other people that have experienced it, both in process or so both ahead of me and behind me in terms of like that experience. I think it's been very helpful to just both receive from others that have more wisdom and more understanding of the grief and dying and loss process, and also those that are just getting sick or just experiencing their own mortality in some way, shape, or form, and being able to see that as like this fabric that we're all part of, and accept and look at closely and support in whatever ways that I can. So that has been very sweet, and caretaking groups and a bunch of other things that have kind of woven into that category of people. So highly recommend people staying connected to this community or others that feel supportive for whatever process that they're going through that involves grief. The next I would say is my own seeing Grace going through this process, and the thing that she would point to that really transformed her the most was her meditation practice. And I was sort of like one of these 5 minutes a day, oh yeah, if I meditated, it'll help me perform better at work, or whatever. And that's all good. Like that's how a lot of us start. But seeing her whole arc with that really changed my commitment to just getting close with my own mind, heart. I joined a meditation company's executive where I work today. We help millions of people learn how to meditate, and I've probably been on about 20 weeks of retreat at this point. So I've really like changed my own relationship with my own practice. And then, in some ways, maybe the most important thing to me, maybe I'll take a little step over for a second, is much more direct, but this is my little grief project. This is a thing that I built. It's actually not a very good view. Maybe that's a little better view. This is a little bookshelf that's not so little, actually, I guess. It's about 18 feet tall. That was in the video. And it was a project that she always wanted. When we first saw this house, she was like, "Oh, wouldn't it be cool to have one of those giant bookshelves with like one of those rolling ladders, like in Beauty and the Beast?" And I was kind of like, "Huh? What?" I think I vaguely remember that from when I was like 7 or something. And I never actually got the chance to build it because the supply chain in COVID, like all the wood and everything, was like really hard to get. I don't know if anybody was trying to do home improvement projects during COVID, but I like ordered it. Her and I designed it together, and then I ordered all the materials. And I don't know, maybe like March or April or something, but it didn't come until like the week she died. And so I spent like a week or two, right? Like that was my grief project. It was like 100% of my time, like building that thing. And it's kind of wild. It turned into, you moving my hands and body and creative energy and like feeling like I'm creating something really helped me move through, move to sort of like the acute grief. And in some way that I don't, again, understand, there's like this universal energy or something, and it kind of like channeled into the wood and the thing. And it became this kind of wild story, which I won't bore everybody with the details, but it turned into this whole thing. And I'd wind up getting all these books from strangers on the internet that had lost their parents or friends or loved ones. And I think, I don't exactly know how that works. I haven't figured that out yet. I'll let you know if I do. But it was this kind of wild, something was different about, I've done many little projects around the house, but something was very different about that one for whatever reason. And I think that has something to do with Grace's energy or her beingness or consciousness or something. It wasn't a normal project of like doing some plumbing work where it looks nice, Right. It was this very, very different impact on my life and on many of the lives of other strangers. So so I would say those three things, sort of community and people, practice, meditation, spirituality, whatever way you connect to higher power, and creative, sort of, at least for me, it feels like productive creative energy. But I think for others, it can just be whatever form of creative expression that you have that's important to you. Yeah.
That bookshelf is incredible, Ben. And just I've just heard recently, by the way, to everyone out there, that Ben is working on a new project to help other people develop projects like that bookshelf, to create sacred spaces, which maybe we'll have a chance to talk more about at the end. But just your arc of, this is what Reimagine we talk about, is how do we transmute, channel, metabolize the energy of love and loss. And or not just love. I mean, it could be pain. It could be something not positive. But where does that energy go, and how do we transmute it into something where there's more beauty in the world, more love in the world, more kindness? And I think, by putting that offering out, I think, in your case, just to reflect back, I think Grace's presence is definitely a part of that. You're a part of that. Your love is a part of that. And all the people that sent you books to fill that shelf, it makes sense,
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
it just makes so much sense. And that's how I feel for me with music. That it just feels like something. And there's sometimes words just can't do it all. You have to do something with your hands, with your body, with your motion, and there's something that comes out of it that just, it's still not permanent, because the bookshelf, who knows if it'll stay there forever, or my song will disappear. But there's something about it that when I sit back and watch the video and I can play that music, I can return to it, and it feels so good every time I return to it. So I just imagine you walking by that bookshelf.
Yeah. Totally. Yeah. I mean, that's the whole, this little side project thing, which we don't need to talk much about, but that's sort of the whole, concept. Actually, it's this building. I I think we oftentimes move through the world and think of space as this practical or sort of like, oh, I saw this in like a cool magazine, like I want to use this piece of furniture or whatever. It's very functional. At least that's the way I think we often relate to it in the Western world. It's definitely the way I have related to it in the Western world. And I found that the our spaces actually like impress upon our inner world like very strongly. And if you can learn to kind of tweak or incline or encode your energy or things you care about or want to prioritize or practices or memories or whatever is important to you into your space in both big ways and small, it can totally change your internal felt experience of home. Um, and so yeah, I think it's a deeply, it's new to me. It's a deeply profound realization to me through this sort of accident almost that it feels to me. I think to many other folks, it's like, oh yeah, of course it's obvious, but to me, it was as an engineer and a little bit of a skeptic, it's sort of surprising to me. So seeing the sort of creative, um, yeah, the shift that happens when creativity is sort of channeled into specific realms and the power that that can have for your heart, space, mind, whatever realm you're in, I think is really powerful. So
And so
plus
yeah,
one.
so let's drill in for 1 second on the music piece.
Sure.
Was there something curious in terms of the beautiful thing about music, I think, also is that you can perform it, but you can also just receive it, and there's something about that giving and receiving of creative acts that is what makes them
Yeah.
so powerful. Is you create something others can bear witness, and it's a relationship. Are there any songs? Is there a song in particular that you feel embodies grace or your love for grace?
It's funny. I was sort of suspecting you were going to ask something about music. And it's funny because as I reflected on it, it's not like, oh, like this song by this person is like, the sort of memory or whatever. It's not the answer that came. And so maybe this isn't quite the answer you're looking for, but it's the one that feels most true to me. Um, as it was more about sort of performance and channeling of the sort of like musical energy and playfulness that felt like such a powerful reminder to me of her and the way we like move through the world. And so I tried to remember to sing more. And I'm not a singer by any stretch of the imagination, so I don't want anybody to be hearing me, but it's kind of this the way it feels to me is it's like moving energy through your body in a way that I think is not natural for many of us in the Western world. And I have found making song out of the simplest, silliest little things is really powerful. I'll give you one example. We would oftentimes, we spend a lot of time managing our first dog, and for those of you that had a dog for the first time, there's lots of little, who's going to do this and the walking and the whatever. And instead of like creating little fights or energy around like, okay, Ben, you're supposed to take the dog out tonight, or I can't do a walk and I'm tired, whatever. Um, there would be these little songs that we would sing to each other through Holly, the dog. So Grace would be like, Dad, it's time for me to go for a walk. I really want to go to the park. And I would sing back like, well, Dad's kind of busy right now. He's trying to make dinner for great, and so we would just have these little back and forth little songs that, I don't know if song is the right word, but little, it's more song the verb than song the noun is kind of how it felt. And so it would make us laugh and it would actually create some clarity on like what to do and who's going to do what task or whatever. But it was through this lens of like play and laughter and song. So I'm sorry not to have the clear answer if it's this artist and this song, but it felt much more like turning little moments into little songs. Felt really powerful. It's something I'll never forget. And whatever I notice when I have like a difficult day or some bad thing, get in some sort of accident or have some problem, I try to like, oh boy, Ben fell off a ladder, broke his arm. It kind of like helps me relate to it in a really different way. So hopefully, again, that's a
No, that's a
appropriate
that's
answer.
that's that's beautiful, and it's a gateway. And I mean, with my new daughter, it, it's I'm singing more now than I've ever sung in my entire life, and I
Mm.
see how music at the end of life, at the beginning of life, how natural
Yeah,
music is for the body and for the
totally.
mind and for as a way of being. I mean, She loves music more than anyone I've ever met, and she's 7 months old. Um,
Mm.
so with that, I wanted to pull back up the next prompt. We're going to take a minute and we're going to make a playlist together.
Mm.
We shared a minute ago or a few minutes ago someone that we've thought about in our life. If we want to keep that person present, or if there's somebody else you want to bring forth, if you click on the right in the chat, pull up this prompt here. I'll click it myself and see what happens. And I'm going to share my screen again. And there's a prompt here called a song to remember. And what's nice is we built this little thing where you can search for any song. I'm going to think, so I'm going to, the song I'm thinking about my daughter. It's a Hug a Day is a song that I really love right now. And we can all take a couple of moments right now to think about a song in our own life that we want to remember somebody with, or evoke. And so let's take a couple minutes to do that together, and then we will be back shortly. If you have any questions, again, use the chat. But we're going to we're going to ultimately share a playlist with everybody about all the songs that we create here tonight, and we can all listen to each other's songs and then ultimately see the stories. So this, for me, was sparked by birth. And honestly, death.
Mm. Mm.
All right, I'm gonna stop that now and just share how grateful I am, first of all, to everyone who's sharing or even reflecting on this. You know, the idea here that we're trying to co-create together and we've been working on is the same expression of love, but in a community context that Ben was talking about, is how do we weave these things together? How do we support one another through this journey? And how do we, even in a reflection like this, that's channeling something. It's these little experiences of channeling our emotional states through something creative. Even thinking about a song is so healing, and it feels so good to see us building something like this collectively. So thank you for experimenting with us, and please, I invite everyone to hold space for one another. I really want to share something. I want to bring Grace into the room one more level for everybody. I have another video that I want to share of Grace. And I want to set this one up. But when Grace was diagnosed, it's like, how do you help somebody? I know this artist named Day Shilkret who builds mandalas. You saw the mandalas in the video, and I connected Grace and Day to see what beauty might be created if they got together to create and process what Grace was experiencing, and it truly was beautiful. And I'm going to share you the video that was created around that, where we learn and hear more about Grace's perspective. 5 years later, for the music video, I connected Ben with this artist Day, and they then created the same kind of experience, the two of them. And that's what ultimately became the music video, is the interwovenness of reaching back through time across 5 years of people in the same kind of ritual experience, seeing what could come up. And I want to, I'm excited to share this video with you, which has really been part of the journey that I've been on around this experience. Let me see where that went. Okay, here it is. One second.
Like, I see wonder as a skill. Approaching death with wonder is a beautiful approach.
My mom died of gallbladder cancer. She was the first person in my close family to die, and she was the first person who I've been in a room with when they were dying. She raised me as a single mom, and I was her only child, so she was my whole family, my whole sort of nuclear family.
Yeah.
And difficult doesn't begin to get at it, but her death was also the beginning of my awakening.
Her last words to me and to everyone else in her consciousness at that moment were, "This is like birth."
It's difficult, but it also feels like the biggest gift in the world in some ways.
What is your fear of death?
My fear with death is that I will forget that there's nothing to be afraid of. That as the closer I get, I will forget that I won't be able to call back to the memory of my mom's death to do that remembering. I really want to be very present for my death, because this really is like one of the most, probably the most magical, mystical, wild experiences that we get to have as humans.
1 month ago to the day, I was diagnosed with stage 3 ovarian cancer. And 3 days later, I had surgery, a total hysterectomy. Happy 30th birthday to me. And while they got a lot of the cancer out, wasn't all of it.
To witness my mom's death, it just felt like this body was no longer where she needed to be. Even though I'm scared, everything is okay with life, with death, with her, with myself. She was an extraordinary teacher.
Yeah. And what a gift she gave you.
To just have this role model for deciding on how I want to approach treatment for cancer and how I want to think about my own end-of-life planning. A very different role model than the rest of our culture teaches us, which is like the battle and fight.
Yeah, the fight.
Stick with it and, do the most treatment and get the most interventions.
Yeah, which is how, is really how my dad died.
Mm-hmm.
Most of us are kind of like swimming without any kind of guidance or ritual or anything passed down. It's kind of frightening. The new tradition that I'm doing right now for life transitions like death are these mourning altars or these earth altars. And sometimes I gather the plants and the material that they loved, you know, like the flowers that they loved or the smells that they loved of a certain plant. Both remembering their lives through the things that they loved and also creating something both for them and for me. And at the beginning, I had no preconceived idea of what I was doing. I just was like trying to order something that was disordered in my life. You know, death and grief feels very chaotic, as, you know, just like you feel like you're out of control. So like actually like taking flower petals and ordering them felt super cathartic for me. It was like, okay, this is the one thing I can do that feels like I'm in control. What happened was I would be left with beauty.
Yeah.
And that just was remarkable, that like grief could become beauty.
This year's Reimagine Festival, we made an altar together and patterned it sort of around things that were meaningful from my life and my mother's life, and it was really, really beautiful.
The etymology of the word ritual means rhythm. So when we're in this like rhythmic ritual and we just do something repetitively, like put down petals, you know, then like these other parts of us just can come forward. And that's what happened. I felt like we were really connecting because we were just in this shared creation together. I think it's so important for us to see the absence of things, you know, and not to cover them up so quickly, but to actually proceed in our lives with the whole.
I feel here in this space, yeah. I feel very present. And that's really the most important thing for my life right now, is to be able to be where I am and be there joyfully, and that's how I feel like I'm showing up right now.
And what beauty you're making with your life. Yeah.
So I wanted to just take that time to hear from Grace a little bit in a real conversation, and both with her words, but also with her hands. Ben, you know, you've also had this experience now working with Day and watching this video back. I know the center of your altar. Maybe you could talk about what you placed there, but I'm curious just your reflections on watching this and on these experiences of all this that we're gathered around today.
Yeah, totally. I think you guys can hear me, right? Okay, I'm unmuted. Yeah, I hadn't seen that video in a long time. Maybe since the first time y'all played it at a Reimagine event, I think is where I saw it. Makes me like really miss her. Seeing that energy. Yeah, I think the thing that I put at the center of the altar in the video and in the music video are these really cool little, I have one right here actually, these little cool little river stones that I had made. I don't know if you guys can see that, but they're these really beautiful little white stones. I have, I don't know, 1,000 of them or something. And there's this really cool company called Parting Stone, and they take human and animal cremated remains and compact them into these biodegradable little stones. That kind of similar to the flower ceremony. I didn't really know what to do with her ashes. It felt like didn't really want to have like an urn on the mantle with her forever. So similarly, a friend randomly mentioned this little company, and I made I actually combined. I also had Sally's ashes, her mom's ashes, so I actually combined their ashes together, which maybe was a slightly strange thing to do, but it felt like the right thing to do at the time, and I still feel pretty good about it. And then they sent me back this giant box of these little river stones of her ashes. And so I put one at the center of the mandala. And I've also honestly just been giving them to people that she loved, planting them, burying them in places. They're kind of like littered around the house. And it kind of always, it still feels like this very sweet way to remain connected to her energy and body, in a way that feels very like, kind of like natural and easy. Like it's easy for me to give these out. Whereas if it was like this big pile of ashes, it would feel like this big singular thing that's hard to like separate. So I've really loved like giving them to friends and family, and yeah, I've planted some trees with them in the root ball. Um, yeah, that was the center of my little mandala there.
Yeah, I am grateful to have one of those stones that I keep with me. So thank you, Ben,
Mm, of
for
course.
that.
Yeah.
Um, we're winding down right now,
Mm,
and I feel like part of the reason we've tried to build this other experience that we're journaling in is because something like this chat it goes away, and there's this whole tension between permanence and impermanence, and I really want to take a couple moments for all of us to reflect on what what you're taking away from Grace and from Ben and from their story. And then you can leave that. You'll have that there, and we can return to it. There are the other prompts that we're going to be asking. There's another event coming that's in the same vein as this, and we're going to keep building this journey together. And you can go on in between, and there'll be other questions and things for you to do, activities, etc. But for now, it's so nice to just have a space to reflect on what we can all pull from Grace, and
mm,
from your love, which I feel is so palpable still. And I know
mm,
each of us who are here, we have relationships that are that are we all have our own relationships that are filled with love and all kinds of other emotions that are special to us. And I think by centering, your story here tonight, it just invites all of us in to places that we already inhabit, but we don't often take the space to sit with. And thank you, Ben, for letting us into your world, into Grace's world, and from being part of this project with me to try to share her message more widely. My real hope is, that this video, my dream was that it could help open up a conversation, that photo you took, that the messages that Grace shared, that your story, that Grace's spirit of opening up dialogue isn't just going to move through you and me, but can move through a lot of other people, because it feels like it just wants to move there. And
mm,
so that's why I'm here tonight with you, and why I've spent the last 5 years making her such a big part of my life. And I'm going to continue to do that. And I'm so grateful that everyone who is here witnessed that song today, which is a huge culmination and just the beginning of this message that I want to keep sharing with more people about what it means to love till the last breath, what it means to face mortality, what it means ultimately to not turn away,
mm,
but to turn towards with joy in our hearts. So with that, I'm gonna, if you want to click on that link that my colleague Saul shared, I'm just going to pick up my guitar while we do it. I think that the prompt there that you'll find is, what are you taking away from Ben and Grace?
mm,
And that's the question. And I think it'll just be so nice to have that there. And as I mentioned, we'll
mm.
be returning to it. So Ben, feel free to look at that. And I'm going to, while you're working on that, I'm going to just pick up my guitar. I haven't actually played the song live in so long, but I'm going to play a little bit of the song for you guys, and then we can all head off into the night. But I appreciate you all for being here.
Mm. Thanks, Brad.
if this is it, this is the last time that I see your face, I'll keep my eyes open so wide that I'll dream you awake. And I wish that we could dance and never say goodbye. I wish that we could live and never have to die. It's your last night on earth. I'll hold you for all it's worth. On the highways of my mind, you'll ride forever. I'll cover you in flowers, I'll sing to you for hours. I made a promise to love you to your last breath, and my words mattered. My words mattered. My words mattered. It was a promise. This is it, this is the last time that I hear you speak. I'll hit record and play back the chords of your voice on repeat. And I wish that we could dance and never say goodbye. There's loss in life and love, the darkness and the light. It's your last night on earth. I'll hold you for all it's worth. On the highways of my mind, you'll ride forever. I'll cover you in flowers, I'll sing to you for hours. I made a promise to love you to your last breath. And my words mattered. My words mattered. My words mattered. It was a promise. It was a promise. I'm gonna see you again. We're gonna ride like the wind. On my last night on earth, it'll feel just like birth. On the highways of the skies we'll ride together. It's your last night on earth. I'll hold you for all it's worth. On the highways of my mind, you'll ride forever. I'll cover you in flowers, I'll sing to you for hours. I made a promise to love you to your last breath. And my words mattered. My words mattered. My words, they mattered. It was a promise. Thank you so much, everyone, for being here tonight. Yeah, I'll share the song. Keep sharing this. Thank you. We'll have another event. We'll share more prompts. Keep joining this platform. We want to figure out how to just be together. And I don't know. I'm just overcome tonight by Ben, your presence here, honestly, and you showing up the way that you do. And yeah, just. Creativity is a very powerful force that does hold things that words cannot. And with that, I am at a loss for words. So I think maybe we'll just end this event the way that we do, because there's only one word that really, in the human language, that feels right, which is the word love, at the end of this experience. And so I think we can just unmute all of us. And on the count of three, we can just all share the word love, love, love. And I'll share, Ben, if you don't mind, your contact with people if people want to get in touch. No, sorry, I just outed your contact information, but
you can out me anytime, Brad.
Thanks, Ben. But I want to stay in touch with everyone here. Okay, I hear that you're on mic, so on the count of three, let's end this night with love. 3, 2, 1. Love.
Bye.